Hello and good afternoon. Maxwell Smith here, former sergeant in the Royal Fusiliers and newly appointed leader of the Ipswich branch of the National Network of Truth Seekers. And before we go any further, let me just take a moment to reassure all of you that there will be no further illicit goings-on and no more private services operated here at the Ipswich branch. Because the previous branch leader, Mr. Marcus Rasmus, is, as we speak, in the hands of the authorities, where he will finally have to account for all of his criminal activities, meaning the Ipswich branch can finally get back to the work at hand, and that is truth-seeking. Now then, back to business, and as our usual host Jerry wasn't available this week, Truth Seekers HQ have asked me to record the introduction for tonight's episode. And by all accounts, this week we have a viewer with another tale of ghostly apparitions. So let's head over to Margate.
Alright, how's it going? So, my name's Susie, and I run the all-night jazz club in Margate. And seriously, yeah, I don't know who else to talk to. You see, as well as being the only all-night jazz club in the south of England, featuring the very best from the biggest names in jazz, like Natty Larry, the Catgut Quartet, and of course, Vincent Sombrero, the all-night jazz club in Margate is also home to no less than 5 ghostly apparitions, including the drunken priest, the wailing woman, and of course, probably the best known of them all, the boy in the chimney. Now, these ghosts have never really been a problem in the past, and truthfully, they've never been more than an interesting story for the punters and performers alike. That is, until about 4 months ago, when the manifestations became far more regular and increasingly more violent. So that now, these things are actually driving punters away. On top of that, most of the named bands are cancelling the gigs they did have with us and are refusing to rebook unless we sort something out. So, can you help?
Hello Susie. First off, I'm afraid that all of our ghost specialists are busy on other assignments right now, but I've been asked to give you some simple advice because I recently attended a seminar on paranormal apparitions and manifestations by the legendary Mrs Mumford. My name is Mr Chegg, but you can call me Scott. And the first thing I did after watching your video, Susie, was to have a long conversation with both Mrs Mumford and simulation detective Elvis Constantine, where I outlined the problems you mentioned. And despite the fact that they are both up to their ears in their own cases right now, they found time to give me some instructions to pass on to you. So, firstly, both of them agree that the last thing you should do is show these spirits/entities that you are scared of them. In fact, Mr Constantine was most insistent about this, saying, tell Susie not to give in to fear, as fear will only make these creatures stronger. Now, there was a bit of confusion here, as Mr Constantine referred to the ghosts as visitors from the other side of the simulation, whereas Mrs Mumford just called the ghosts, well, ghosts. But they both agreed that the best thing to do was to ignore everything that is happening and for you to just carry on with business as usual. Apparently, if you do, eventually the spirits or whatever they are will become too weak to bother you. Oh, unless there happens to be some kind of interdimensional doorway close by. Apparently, that would change everything. And if it turns out that there is one of these portals and things get really bad, I'm told you should contact Brian Blessings from our Margate branch. He's just down the road from you actually. Now, he doesn't normally deal with this kind of thing, but he does have a direct line of communication with Truth Seekers HQ, so do give him a call if need be. Anyway, there was a bunch of other stuff, like the fact that holy water doesn't work unless you actually believe wholeheartedly. There was something about the moon cycles, and Mrs Mumford asked if there was the smell of brimstone in the air, but honestly, the main thing was don't be scared of them, and don't give in to fear. Oh, and if possible, tune in next week for another episode from the National Network of Truth Seekers. Was that alright? I was a bit nervous, I'll be honest.